It's like, oh, but I'm a grown up, so I need big kid coffee. I am drinking one of my faves. So there's this place called Alfred's Coffee, which how LA is this? The ad for the boys on my
Love
fucking
that.
like coffee sleeve. There's also an Alfred's in they call it Glossier Alley in Melrose, right across from work. So next to the Glossier storefront, there's like an Alfred's. But anyway, it's a lavender latte. So it's like
Ooh.
lavender tea, lavender syrup, and then like espresso. And I get macadamia nut milk in it because
you live in California and you can do that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's so fucking good. Like, move over London fog.
No, honestly, I mean, honestly, lavender is delicious.
Lavender is everything to me, and I always will stand her forever. Also, before we get started, what would you think if we switched to doing every other week for the summer?
I literally was going to do the same pitch to you. So
yes, we're on it. We're on it together. I'm like, just through fucking Labor Day, let's do every other week. And I think that that's good. That way we can have like sort of a summer break, because I've been so burned out at work too that I'm like, I'm so tired. Like, I need some time to like actually reset.
No, I'm here for that. I'm queer for that. June is Pride. June is Pride.
We're moving to every
Pride. Like, I'm gay. I can't be working. Do you understand? Do you understand like how that works? I
understand that this is a queer run podcast. We're taking our time back. But like literally in my next paycheck over the last week, I had 2 separate days where I worked long enough to hit double time pay.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like,
yeah,
I'm tired. Fucking done. Like, my brain. But I love that we're on the same page. I feel like it's such a good compromise because we'll still be releasing like plenty of content. We have a huge backlog, but this way we can like slow down at the summer.
To be completely honest, like, that is what's cool about this, is that we don't have like a producer being like, no.
Yeah, we don't have
no
lords. And we're like, hey, I'm tired. Are you tired? Anyway, but yeah, so, and my hair is like getting fully purpled.
Oh yeah. No, and it's so weird. I like literally was like wanting to pour myself a glass of white wine and then realize that we are recording in the broadest of daylight and I have work tonight, so.
Well, I'm having a latte, so it counts. It's something. But I think this will be like a fun, like slightly briefer episode, mostly because I got into it and like Bears Breeches and RTO had very little. So
no, Otso was also not giving. It's literally 3 short paragraphs on Wikipedia. But
yeah,
I think Bears. Okay, I mean you can kind of see where I'm going with it. It's
check out my Bowie.
Oh my god, love.
Sorry, I forgot I'm using these as my bookmarks because we went to the Bowie exhibition at the Vendo, which was really small. But then we got that book that's like apparently super fucking hard to find, that tabletop book with the with like the wild holographic cover art of like all the different Bowie headshots.
Love that.
Same. But yeah, no, so I got into it and I was like, yeah, there's just like not a whole lot. For RDO, I had to literally go into like other research about bear deities being really old.
Oh, I think I might have read the same thing because I mean, it's really, well, I mean, we'll just talk about it. We'll just freaking talk about it. Because like, yeah, just bears in general, it's fascinating.
Yeah, we love bears.
Honestly, do love bears. So yeah, let's fucking hold on. Let me do my split screen. I can't. Although random complaining time. Okay.
I'm here for it.
Random complaining time. So Apple gave me a free trial of fucking Apple TV, right? And I've been wanting to watch that like David Attenborough dinosaur show because I am a fucking 6-year-old boy. And it doesn't cast to Google, which is the only thing I have for television.
Oh.
That's the pettiest shit I've ever fucking seen.
Well, I mean, for the longest, when we had our Google TV, we couldn't get Hulu because Hulu and Google had like some fucking beef. Luckily, with the Roku TV, we have everything. Although it is very weird, I have to say that our Roku TV, like, so intensely advertises Roku TV to us. And I'm like, you know that we have one, right? Like,
right.
We got one because not because we stan Roku, because it was like the best deal we had for like a new TV, because it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. Our TV like developed this weird like glitch on one side, and we were like, we're not about to go into this fucking pandemic lockdown
with no TV,
with no television, because it was like the TV that I bought in college, and
my god,
so,
yeah,
you know, I was like, it's time. So we like shopped around and got the Roku because we wanted something that had decent blacks, because like everything feels like it needs to be a fucking Christopher Knight Batman film now and be filmed in the dark.
Oh my god, no, you're literally killing me. Like, absolutely.
Like, why are we allergic to lights now? Did we all become vampires? Why is everything so dark?
I can't see. See what's going on. So
like, I'm a grown-up. I need like some sort of light on this situation. My nighttime vision is not what it once was. And I'm only 31, so I know that like I am not alone here. These fuckers. Anyway, but yeah, so we got the Roku TV, and now we get so many ads on our Roku TV.
Roku TV, yeah.
Or Roku TV. And I'm like, y'all, what the fuck? We're here. We're already here.
We're already here. The call is coming from inside the house.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what? Do you think we're gonna go buy another one? Like, no, we're a one TV household.
That's like with the fucking Casper mattress people. I bought a Casper mattress. I am not opening a hotel. Like,
you're like, I don't need 47 mattresses.
I really don't. Like, one is good for now. Now, so maybe cool it. Also, fucking the one time I was thinking about buying a pair of Taft boots 3 years ago, those motherfuckers text me every single day.
Oh my god, it's so annoying.
And it's like,
calm down.
It's like, it's not gonna happen at this point. At this point, it's never gonna happen because you're annoying.
Yeah, it's like, I would have bought from you, but now I will never buy from you because of spite.
Because of spite.
I have too many fire placements for you to advertise this hard at me and still get my business.
No, truly. It doesn't even seem cool anymore.
No, I mean, it's like Eric and I have this strong stance where like, we won't buy groceries that have advertising.
Love that. Love that.
I'm just like, if you feel the need to tell me about your food, I'm not going to buy it. Because I don't know what's wrong with us. But we are who we are.
We are who we are. Thank you, Kesha. All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Okay. Hello and welcome to Wands and Fronds, the weekly, about to be bi-weekly podcast where we cover magic, herbalism, and more. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Nick.
And we're your co-hosts. So today, on a very fun episode.
Oh no. Oh no.
I'm talking about Bear's Breeches and Artio, a Celtic bear goddess.
And we're doing kind of the double trouble deities this week because I'm talking about Otso. And also we're just gonna have a nice little discussion about bear symbolism in general. So that'll be fun. It's Bear Week.
I love it. It's Bear Week. And so, like I said up top, Nick and I have been talking, and for the summer, we're going to switch to doing every other week for the podcast. It's our little vacation. If you're upset about it, we have literally like over 130 episodes for you to go back and listen to. but we need like a little mini break. And we love you guys and we want to keep bringing you the podcast and we don't want to start resenting it. So we're going to like take a slow summer and I think it'll be good for everyone.
Yeah, I think, kind of like leading up to my trip as well, it's going to be a lot of like picking up shifts and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, happy summer, you guys. Happy Pride Month. You actually are not even allowed to, early Pride Month, but you're not even allowed to complain because Pride Month is next month. So,
haha, you can't be mad. This is a queer run podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry. You have
so
to
actually, yeah, it's like Pride Month is in like 3 days. So think about that. Think about that.
Pride Eve. Are you gonna yell at queer people on Pride Eve? You fucking monsters! Like,
yeah,
ugh,
absolutely not.
God, look. But on that very gay note, Nicholas, when did you feel magical this week?
Okay, actually, I do have something prepared for this. I have only one answer because well, first of all, Texas has been having a bit of like a traditional spring where it's been like not triple digits yet. And also it's been raining quite a bit. So been loving that, the wildflowers are still out and about, et cetera, et cetera. But it's been that kind of temperature a lot lately where it's like, it doesn't feel like anything, like how our old bathwater is.
Yeah. It's like just tepid.
Yeah, just like tepid. And it was one of those nights with just a slight breeze, which I love.
We know Nick loves breezes.
I do a lot of work with breezes, that's right. And I did have my first firefly sighting of the year.
Oh, you're having good Texas weather if there are fireflies, though. Because, like, when you have a bad year, like, you don't really get fireflies.
You do not. That is true. And yeah, so I was absolutely thrilled. Absolutely thrilled.
Can we talk about how this wasn't planned, but my magical moment is also like nocturnal insect related? So I was walking Willow, which I forget what was going on. Eric wasn't home. It was like just me and Willow for an evening walk. And it was like dusk was settling. And I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast. Willow has like really bizarre leash aggression. So we end up taking like weird walking down the middle of Park La Brea's like during when we're doing the walks, we have to like hop across the street essentially if there's a dog coming, and there's a lot of like landscaping and stuff. All that to say, we got into this little like center section of one of our roundabouts, which has like all sorts of plants. And as I was standing there, I just watched this moth flitting among the clover blossoms. And it was just like gorgeous. Like it was sunset. There's this beautiful, like, it's so nice, I think, to see a moth not banging its head against a light. Like it was kind of cool to see it like doing natural moth things and feeding on the clover blossoms, which is, I don't know, something about that moment. I was just like, Goddess is alive in Los Angeles.
That does sound so peaceful.
It was. And Willow didn't freak out because we got far enough away from the other dog that she was able to chill the fuck out. So wins all around.
Well, let's get into it because we got 3 topics to cover.
We do. We got 3 topics to cover. So Bears breeches, which I think it's fun because there's not any agreement on where the common name Bears breeches come from. So we don't have like an anecdote for that. So the Latin name for it, it's Acanthus mollis, but the other names you'll see it listed as are sea dock, bear's foot plant, sea holly, gator plant, or oyster plant. And we'll talk about how appropriate oyster is later when we talk about how vulgar this plant can be. But this is a plant that's considered invasive in some areas. So I'm just like, I'm going to say that a couple of times because I think it is really important if you want to grow it. Like, do a little Google, find out what your local ecosystem is. Don't destroy it because you want a pretty plant. So it's a native plant to the Mediterranean. It's leafy. It's a perennial herb. It has really tuberous roots that are like black on the outside, white on the inside. The basal rosette has these like dark, glossy green leaves. They're like really deeply lobed. They get up to 20 inches long and 12 inches wide. So like, sorry, I have the hiccups. the plant leaves are like huge, and the leaves will be around for a long time before it flowers. But then once that flower spike emerges, it's 3 to 4 feet tall. So it's like a big boy. But the flowers are where it gets like a little odd. They're in like a brown sheath, and they give like iris almost, that kind of like gaping open flower. But Culpeper, and it's probably because I read the Culpeper description that gaping was the only word stuck in my head, because he referred to the flowers as hooded and gaping, which is just so vulgar. And then it's like the oyster plant. And I'm like, oh my God, why is this plant a vagina? Like, it just looks like fucking labia. Like,
did Georgia O'Keeffe make this flower?
Georgia O'Keeffe got wet when she saw this flower. Like, it's so lady bitsy. And they're like a whitish purplish color, the flowers are. But it just like, it makes me giggle like a fucking schoolgirl. So they're anyway, the plants though, you can like propagate through root division. It doesn't like to have the roots disturbed, so just pull off the roots if you want to. You can actually just like take a chunk of tuber and plant it, and it'll grow. And once they're established, they can survive for decades. Like, these are plants that will like hang around. And when they're healthy and well grown, they're really like impressive. One of my favorite like fun facts that I read about it is that the leaf on the plant actually inspired the Greek sculptor Callimachus, who you might know as the designer of the Corinthian column.
Oh, so that's a great column.
Yeah. So if you look at like the capital of the Corinthian columns, you'll see like, look up what the leaves look like on bears' breeches, and you'll start actually seeing it all over the place in like ancient architecture and even like antique furniture, because you know they love those like Roman Corinthian columns and antique like antique design work in general. Now you'll start seeing bears' breeches like everywhere in antiquities when you're looking. So
can I just like side quest here and say that okay, because I do follow a lot of like TikToks and reels that are like the different aesthetics, which does get into architecture a lot as well. And I like neoclassical. That is my hot take of the day. I like neoclassical. I would absolutely have my house in like, if I was a rich person, it would absolutely have columns and giant vases and shit.
Because you are hedonism bot.
No, it's true. It's true.
You are. And like, there's no shame in that. Like, that is you. I feel like my aesthetic is always like cottage witch. More is more. I went in for work the other night. Where I work, we have an annual poker party for alumni and like parents. And it was at this like rich person's house in Beverly Hills. And I walked in, I was like, it just looks like a fucking hotel. Like, everything is beige. And I'm like, money does not equal taste. And it's like, it's fine, but their house was just so inoffensive. I was like, man, if I was this wealthy.
No, it's like when you see the TikToks of like Kylie Jenner's house, and it's just like, it's like everything is pristine and made of marble. I will give you that. You know, like the materials are luxurious, but like the solid white of it all, it's like white, beige, cream, khaki, tan. I don't know about that color palette, y'all.
I just don't get it. And it's the thing where I'm like, this idea that we've like romanticized normcore when everyone's like, oh, Steve Jobs, he only wore like sneakers and jeans and black turtlenecks. It's like, because he had no taste. Having money does not make you a tastemaker. Like, we need to stop pretending that rich people have better taste than us just because they're rich, because honestly, like, fucking like terrible like walking tennis shoes and a black turtleneck does not an aesthetic make.
Right. But all of that to say, we love columns. We love a column.
We love columns.
We love columns.
We love a Corinthian column. Come through, Callimachus. I love how much he appreciated a bear's breech. So again, if you want to grow it, be careful, because it can be invasive. So one of the things that I saw a lot of gardeners recommend, though, if you do want to grow it, is doing like a sunken border, like what people use for bamboo to keep it from just like going bonkers. You can also just get like a bottomless like growing container and like put it into the earth. So like you don't have to necessarily have anything that's like super high tech, you know, just get like one of those like raised bed planters and kind of use a trowel to dig down, and you can actually submerge that into the ground, and it works as sort of like an underground border to keep things from like spreading.
It's root prison.
It is root prison because sometimes roots need to be imprisoned, and they definitely do for a Bear's Breach, also for bamboo, unless you would like, you know, to take over your entire continent, because y'all, bamboo don't play. Bamboo scares me. Like, it spreads like humans, honestly, to the point where you're just like, oh, we can't ever get rid of it because it was here one time.
Do you remember, did you ever watch that creep show that like, I think it's like Stephen King stories, but it's like, it was like a mini series in, I think like the 80s.
I mean, I know about Creep Show. Yeah.
Anyway, there's an episode of Creep Show where like a meteor hits Earth and then it's growing all these vines everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody realizes what's up until it's far too late.
Yep. And that's bamboo. So bamboo genuinely like freaks me out a bit as far as like plants go, because I'm like, at least with something like mint that can be really invasive, or catnip, like it's so small, but like bamboo grows into fucking forests and will take over. And that spooks me. Anyway. Bear's Breeches. So they like full sun to partial shade. But again, like if you have a plant that you want to flower, it's gonna need at least a few hours of sunlight. Like it just does. I mean, if you're in a place like Texas where, you know, summer can literally be like being dropped into a fucking oven, you know, maybe like a light shade cloth or putting it in like dappled sunlight under a tree. But like you can't have this like fully shaded out and think you're going to get flowers. Like that's just not how plants work. Sorry. They like full like rich soil, lots of organic matter or a lot of compost, but also really good drainage. You know, it's like that classic thing where it's like it wants all of this organic material, but you better make sure that it still drains, because otherwise the roots will literally drown. They can be drought resistant once they're established, but they perform best with regular watering. Like the general rule seems to be like at least an inch a week. But to give you sort of an idea of the environment that they prefer, like these do really well in English gardens. It is what it is. Like I have hollyhock for the first time this year because it has rained so much in LA. You can't usually have hollyhock that are 7 feet tall in Los Angeles. And, you know, you just have to come to terms with your climate. You just have to. So in warm climates, you do want to cut back the stalks after they're done flowering. But if you're somewhere with cold winters, leave the stalks alone, because the leaves and the stalks can actually help protect the crown of the plant to keep it from dying. And then you'll just like trim everything back once the like danger of frost has passed in the spring. So medicinal uses. Disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. Nick's not a doctor. This podcast is not intended to treat or diagnose anything. Please always talk to your medical care professionals before you start any herbal regimen. Don't take medical advice from a fucking podcast, you weirdos. So this one is fun because you can like use it for the things that you typically see like high tannin, high mucilage plants used for, right? So we're thinking about things like digestive upset. If you have like constipation, something with a lot of mucilage can moisturize your digestive tract. If you get like frequent UTIs, you might need something that's got like a little bit more mucilage in it to kind of like soothe your urinary tract. But the thing that I thought was also really cool about it is like the topical uses. So of course, like a lot of mucilage-y plants you can use for burns, but this one is actually recommended both by Culpeper and modern herbalists for joint dislocation. So basically, the idea is that you make a paste from the leaves and you apply it to like the injured joint. And because of like, there's the combination essentially of like the active constituents in the plant helps support like both constriction and relaxation, which we've talked about with plants like chamomile. And it's one of those things that feels really counterintuitive until you think about the fact that like modern pharmacology is actually isolating individual constituents. So it's not weird for an herb to have like multiple properties. We just think it's weird because of the way we think about medicine now. But allegedly, the way that it works is like the constriction and relaxation can actually help like relax the muscles while still encouraging the joint to move back into place. So I was just like, what the fuck is this? Again, if you have a dislocated joint, this could be like a good support method in addition to going to the fucking doctor because your joint is out of location. You know, you want those in the right place. It's kind of a big deal. Hot medical take. Joints should be in their proper places.
Well, I do think it's one of those things too where it's like I've definitely seen someone like relocate their shoulder.
Yeah.
And it's like fucking ow. Like just thinking about that makes me hurt.
I'm like, can you give me laughing gas before that happens? Because I would like to be as unaware as possible. As someone who has like broken stuff before, like it hurts. I can't imagine if like when I broke that bone in my foot, if I had to pop it back into some place by itself. I can't imagine. Like I cannot. So anyway, magically though, this plant's associated with the moon. You know, we see that a lot with like high mucilage content plants. The moon is slimy in herbalism is what we've learned, you know.
The moon has a wet pussy.
The moon does have a wet pussy, as does this plant. So we're all there. So it's supposed to be good at like clearing imbalances in the energy flow in your body. And when I think about that like use of helping joints get back into place, I think that really like kind of logically follows. So for me, my gut instinct is to say like make like a flower essence under a full moon in Cancer to use for magical realignment. Like I think that's just the best way to get maximal like magical usage out of it. You can like make a tea out of it and it's got like that high mucilage content. You could put it in a bath. But honestly, like when those like pussy flowers are out, like put a water container under those things, soak them in a Cancer full moon and like wham bam, thank you ma'am, like you're good. Depending on like whether or not it's flowering though, I'm like, I don't even think the flowers are necessary because the way that the leaves last so long, you could 100% make a plant essence with it too. So like, you know, do what you gotta do. And that's really like, that's all I have today. I think like you could also meditate with it, always a good choice. But like, this is a pretty simple plant. It's got like good plant energies. It's associated with the moon. So I think flower essences, and the moon doesn't have to be in Cancer. Again, you can do any sort of like lunar flower essences with it. And maybe if you dislocate a joint and you're in the middle of the woods and all you have is some bear breeches, like give it a shot. Let me know how it goes. So my sources today, iNaturalist.org, Culpepper's Complete Herbal, Gardening Know-How, some Wikipedia, some very interesting image Googling because the flowers are a lot. And maybe I'm just like a pervert, but I think if anyone else looks at them, like you'll have to let me know if you're also getting strong like pussy lip vibes from it because both me and my husband did. So anyway, that is all.
All right. Well, this week I am talking about also, so we do have that, but I wanted to kind of open here because I think this is a good place in this episode to just kind of discuss where we're all at with bears. Like what's our take on bears? Because obviously we do not live in a forest and we do not regularly deal with bears. So, but like what are bears associated with symbolically? You know, we kind of talked about this in like the bird magic episode. I feel like this is kind of the bear magic episode. So let's get into it. The first thing I think of with bears is sleeping. Like I realized that all of the bears that I could truly think of are like sleep associated.
Yeah, sleepy time bear. Like the sleepy time tea bear.
Like the Celestial Seasonings sleepy time tea bear with his sort of long ankle-length nightshirt and his sleeping cap, like Ebenezer Scrooge style. And yeah, it's incredible. What an icon. But also like teddy bears. I mean, I guess teddy bears aren't really like sleep, but also teddy bears are sleep.
Yeah, they are. And you know, for me, I don't know, I don't think there's any reason this ever would have come up on here, but bear is like also like a term of endearment. So like my husband and I call each other bear, like a weird lovey-dovey nickname, which is a weird thing that I'm not sure where it came from, but I do feel like bears also have that very like familial, like protecting your loved ones vibe too.
I was gonna say, because I feel like there's this vibe where it's like mama bear.
Yeah, mama bear, exactly. A
Like
mama
that.
bear.
That's because I think besides like sleepy time, I think the whole like mama bear, you don't want to fuck with her, you know.
Yeah.
Just woke
yeah.
up. She's hungry as hell. She's got the fucking little babies climbing on her. Like, she will kill you.
She'll eat you.
She'll eat you. But okay. But back to teddy bears. I cannot get like any kind of reliable internet answer as to whether or not teddy bears are just like a US, UK, English speaking parts of the world thing, or if it is like a worldwide thing. Like, I know that stuffed animals are like ubiquitous worldwide, but specifically stuffed animals that are bears being so ubiquitous, I really can't get a read on whether or not that's something they do.
Well, I mean, because we know that like the teddy bear is like an American thing because of Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I don't know how far that sphere of influence spread, because, you know, there was a time when people in the rest of the world liked America before we fucked that.
Exactly. So
I would also like to know that our like international listeners, do you have teddy bears?
Do you have teddy bears? Because I had a teddy bear as a kid, but my teddy bear was and I just decided this in my head because I had two stuffed animals as a kid. And one of them was an English sheepdog. But one of them was like just a brown, regular ass teddy bear. I did tie a bow tie onto it. But
and then everyone was shocked when Nick came out. No, I think I didn't really have like a teddy bear. We've talked about her. I had a stuffed dolphin named Melanie after the Spice Girl, Scary Spice. But Morgan, I feel like, had teddy bears. And I do have, like, in our family cedar chest, I have the bears that they give NICU babies that have a recording of like my mom's heartbeat on it, because my youngest sister was a twin and they were born premature. So I have those heartbeat bears that are like a very big NICU thing in the US too.
Oh, sure. But yeah, so like bears, teddy bears, I want to know, do they do this in other parts of the world? Because I had a fucking teddy bear and it was gross by the time we got rid of it, you know.
I mean, that's the only time you get rid of a stuffed animal as a child, is once it gets to that point of no return.
But it wasn't one of those things where it was replaced, you know. Like, my sister definitely had, and I'm kind of outing her here, but like my sister definitely had several blankets over the course of her toddlerhood. See, but it's like the teddy bear as a blanket though, or as like a, you know,
a blankie. Wait, which of your sisters was the blankie sister?
Oh, Talia.
Oh, that's sweet.
But yeah, I you know, there's one in every family. There's for sure one.
Leslie was the blankie kid in our family. I think Leslie still had a chunk of her blankie when you were living with us in high school.
I think I saw a little bit of blanket stuff happening.
Yeah, it got down to like a fucking handkerchief size before it was finally gone.
Well, no, because I mean, anyway, but it's like, I think sliding back into like bears as totems, teddy bears would, you know, like that's so.
It's very totemic.
It's very totemic, but it's also so weirdly primordial because it's something you have when you're like a little baby.
Yeah.
Um. Anyway, so bears and sleep. I just realized this week though it's because they hibernate. Or like maybe I'm this is so himbo-y. I'm a grown man with bills, but I did just realize that.
You're so
Uh,
pretty.
thank you. Um, but no, so there's the mama bear thing, there's sleepy bear thing, right? And then there's the gay bear,
We
which
all
is
love a gay bear.
we all love a gay bear. I think, but I think that kind of gets into like the bear lifestyle though, because how iconic is it that they get to sleep all winter and then like wade around in a river eating salmon?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think of so have you watched, this is on the topic of gay bears. Have you watched A Dirty Shame? John Waters' like 2004 movie, which has Johnny Knoxville and Salma Hayek in it.
No, that sounds incredible though.
By the way, it is. But the thing that I like the most, or sorry, not Salma Hayek, Selma Blair.
Oh my God, even better. Literally, I was like,
Selma Blair and Johnny Knoxville, but there are like gay bears in it, and it's funny because they just like have them act like actual bears in the movie because it's John Waters, and it is like so fucking hilarious and iconic.
That actually is so iconic. But no, so here's the thing though. It's how ancient, right, is the human bear totem relationship? Super fucking old, because literally one of the things that they paint in the caves, the cave paintings, the first, sort of evidence of human culture and thinking, right, is like bears. There's definitely bears, and they find bear bones in caves. And this was on druidry.com. So I guess this is me citing them as a source, right? But they conjecture that the human-bear relationship would even be older than our relationship with wolves because our hunting style is more similar to bears and our diets are more similar to bears. So the Neanderthals would have run into a lot more bears in their day-to-day lives than wolves.
I mean, that tracks. It's like, look, we're all hunting and fishing and gathering. We are just bears.
I mean, if you really think about it, you can forgive the Finnish people for the story of Otso because, well, I mean, they obviously there's a creation myth, right? So sometimes it's when Ukko, the weather god, throws wool into the sea, and then it washes up as a fully formed bear. Also, they have a bear constellation in Ursa Major and Minor in Finland. So they also kind of believe that Otso came down from space or heaven or the sky or whatever. But but after that, because it is, different myths, different versions of different myths. But after that, gets freaky with the primordial mother of humanity and is like an ancestor of humans. So the Finnish people widely believed that humans were descended partly from bears, that bears and humans are related species, basically siblings.
Okay, can I just say, I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom right now because I love Zelda and it just came out. And I'm sure you've seen, Nick, the furry internet has really enjoyed Rauru, who like is not a bear, but is a furry animal-like creature that comes down from the sky to like get with like the first Hylian queen and give birth to the race of Hylians. I'm like, did they get that from Utso? I'm like, is that where that inspiration came from? Sorry, I was like, huh, interesting.
Okay, but why is there so much crossover? Because between people who like the Zelda games, which as a non-gamer, I do like the Zelda games because watching someone do a playthrough is inevitably fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, between like those people and folklore nerds, because I literally feel like I'm reading comments on Reddit right now.
Yeah, I know.
Like reading about Otso, and then someone's like, yeah, that's just like Legend of Zelda.
This is the content that our friends and fans are here for.
But okay. So Otso, ancestor of all mankind, also king of the forest, and like lord of all the animals. So pretty busy guy. But also, okay, I do think it's interesting that when they look, when these sort of very, very ancient people looked at bears, they were like, that's a guy, that's for sure a man in a bear suit. Or did they look at bears and they were like, I am a bear in a man suit?
Porque no los dos.
I say porque no los dos too, but it's a lot to think about. It's really people man a bear in a man suit though is the mental image I'm taking away from this episode. But so they believe that they were descended from bears, basically, or that bears were like very, very closely related to humans. Which they could be forgiven for that. Because bears get up and walk. I mean, that's quirky animal behavior.
Right.
Where did they learn that? And then they, their hands are kind of shaped like human hands too. Which, because we both are evolved to climb trees and shit, basically. Yeah. So anyway, just interesting that we're basically bears is the point of the episode. But so now how do you consolidate though the fact that you worship a bear, you think you are descended from bears, and then you live in a country with very, very harsh winters, and you do sometimes have to eat a bear, which is a thing that would have happened in like Stone Age Finland, probably lots and lots of times, right? So they have a ceremony, which I think this is the real find in the Otso cinematic universe, right? It's, not the backstory of Otso the god, although, just kind of exploring the world of bear folklore this week has been very, very intriguing. And also just to realize how widespread it is. The entire Northern Hemisphere, basically, most indigenous cultures have some kind of like bear deity or spirit, which is also to me very interesting. Like, not everyone has like a god of ceramics, right? But everyone's got a bear god. Anyway, so they would have a wake for the bear. And it's called a Karhun Payaset. And Karhun is like the word for bear. I also, like, fun fact, it's part of the folklore around bears in Finland that you never refer to a bear as a bear. Because if you do that, they believe you will summon a real live bear. But so they have all these euphemisms, and like even in modern Finnish, there's a lot of euphemisms for bear. And Karhun actually means like rough fur, basically, because they have, rough fur. But they would have a Karhun Payaset, and Payaset is just like a funeral or a wake. And here's where it gets quirky. So in order to appease the bear spirits, you have to convince their spirit that you didn't hunt them, that they died by accident. And so there's like mourning and wailing and stuff going on to show mad respect to the bear. But also they're like gaslighting the ghost of the bear. Like, gosh, it really did suck that the bear fell into that pit and died accidentally. And that's why we're all gathered here to have this funeral for this great bear that we all knew and loved. But then they would also do in the same ceremony, like a ceremonial wedding between the bear and either a man or a woman from the village, depending on, I guess, the gender of the bear, which is inclusive, I guess. But what's interesting here is that they were really trying to like gaslight these bear ghosts, because it's like, oh yeah, and then you like married Hildy from the village and we're cousins now, so like you can't haunt us. Like basically we're trying to gaslight the ghost of the bear into not haunting the village, which kind of makes me think, what the fuck happened that they felt so compelled that they do like a whole day's worth of ceremony to eat one bear? Like, what happened? Bear hunting must be intense.
I mean, yeah. I can't imagine it's like a walk in the park.
Right, but also, yeah, like that's, I don't know. I would watch that movie. But also, yeah. The bear hunting must have been intense, because they do all this stuff. They like marry off one of the cousins symbolically to the bear. And they also would sometimes put like antlers on the bear so that they weren't technically eating bear. They're like, no, this is a deer. This is venison. I don't know. There's all these weird, they're like trying to find these like spiritual loopholes, which is also hilarious to me, where it's like, yo, yeah, this is venison because we put antlers on the bear and now it's...
I mean, look, it just goes to show you that as long as humans have come up for rules around religion, there's always the like other hole doesn't count doctrine that you can work in there.
Oh my God. No, this absolutely is one of those things where it's like, yeah, but we can do it. You're still a virgin if we do it in the butt.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, that's what this is, just for putting antlers on a fucking bear.
But no, but here's where it gets really metal, and like I do think, shout out to Finland for being the most metal country on earth, basically, and also sending like a pretty metal sounding song to Eurovision. Like everyone else is sending like girly pop, like Ariana Grande shit, and Finland's like, here's a metal guy.
Right.
It's one of our #1 exports in Finland is metal guys.
And honestly, why are Finnish metal guys the only hot metal guys?
Oh, that's so true. You're so brave.
Sorry,
you're so
American
brave for
guys,
saying it.
But like,
you're so brave for saying it.
I know. I'm a hero. I'm not the hero we need, but I'm the hero we deserve.
But okay, so they would have a funeral for the bear. They would marry the bear off to their cousin, so they're technically family, and you can't haunt us now. They feasted on delicious venison, and they're left with a bear skull, which is actually a very imposing object, though, I have to say.
No, they're scary looking.
I've looked at a lot of bear skulls on the internet this week, and it is a very scary object.
And Nick is now on some weird NSA lists.
I am absolutely not going to be able to ever get on an airplane ever again.
They're not going to let you into Alaska.
They're like, no. Okay, but you have like a cleaned bear skull. And what they would do, again, to not anger the spirits of the bear, they would put it on a tree, like a pine tree in a clearing. And they would place it in such a way that it would just stay in the tree and continue to like go up into the sky as the tree grew, thus bringing the bear's spirit closer to space and therefore heaven. It's a beautiful story, but also just...
The bigger the hair, the closer to God, right?
But also just kind of thinking about how many bear skulls must it would just be around in sort of conspicuous trees, and sometimes on a spike if you didn't have like a good enough tree to use. Sometimes just on like a spike or a post, out in a clearing, just a bear skull. And it really did make me think of Cthiad, the cat skull, which also
a classic.
But such a like a skull on a stick is always spooky.
Always. No human has ever seen a skull on a stick and been like, well, that's fine. And kept walking. Like, that's not what your lizard brain is like. I'm sorry. Wait, what?
Right. But yeah, skull on a stick is always spooky, regardless of the skull. And yeah, Cthiad made, haven't thought about Cthiad in a long time.
I hadn't either until I read that you put it on here, and I was like, oh my god, old Cthiad.
Oh, Cthiad. Well, but that's all I have really for Otso. It's a very short, sweet kind of week.
Yeah, and now we're going to talk about Rdio. Before that, live, laugh, love, rate, review, subscribe.
There we go. Laugh, subscribe.
Live, laugh, subscribe. So I do love though that we're talking about a bear goddess, because I do find that like there's like
it's Mama Bear. It's the Mama Bear vibe.
And I feel like in more modern times, I feel like more and more like something about bear energy. Maybe it's because of all the fucking gross dudes co-opting Norse mythology. Like they're trying to make bears masculine, and I'm like, no.
No.
Mama Bear is the one that's going to eat you. But even more, like, I was so stoked, Nick, because one of the first things I read was they're like, oh, Rdio is like the most closely aligned with Artemis.
Oh, weird.
We love her.
I wouldn't have put that together at all. Like, you mean the lady who lives in the woods?
And hunts. Huntress wizard is Artemis. So I do have to say, though, again, Rdio is like one of the more obscure Celtic goddesses. So there's not a ton of information about her, but like, let's talk about what we know. Rdio, she's most often depicted with like baskets full of produce surrounded by animals, which is Gull. And Nick, she's frequently either depicted as a bear or as a woman wearing bear skins. Man in a bear suit. She's a woman in a bear suit. It all goes back. The Celtic Helvetii tribe is one of the strongest like centers that we know of Rdio worship, and archaeologists found like artworks and writings about her dating all the way back to 450 BCE. But like, because the relationship between humans and bears is so ancient, there are like a lot of people that suggest that like Rdio worship, or at least worship of other bear goddesses, could be much older. So, bones and skulls, like we talked about, have been found arranged in caves and burial sites all throughout Europe. In 1849, they were restoring the Armagh Cathedral in Ireland, and they found ancient stone bear carvings, which I think is really cool. And then there's even like evidence of Rdio, or at least some version of a bear goddess. They found this document that was written in Old Europe script, which, in case you're not familiar, it's a script, like basically a written language that predates like the Druids. It's like 6,000 plus years old. They think it's like one of the oldest written European languages. And this line, which is so nonsensical, and I like to think it was some bullshit like poem by a middle schooler, but it reads, "The bear goddess and the bird goddess are the bear goddess indeed."
Beautiful.
I'm like, but don't you just love thinking about that with the things that we find and make historically relevant? Like it
absolutely.
could definitely be an 11-year-old. But I also was like, bears and birds, we love them. So
that's the new name of the podcast, actually.
Bears and birds.
Bears and birds podcast.
Much better than the birds and the bees. So in Northern Europe in particular, though, like the bear is associated with transformation and shape-shifting. So we have like man in a bear suit, bear in a man suit. But something else that like you have to think about is the fact that like a lot of species of bears, the female bears will go into hibernation pregnant, and will give birth usually in like January or February to these cubs. And when they come out in the spring, they have cubs with them. Like they go in as just a bear, they come out as a bear with children. The black bear in America is actually really interesting because I read that there's this like physiological function where essentially like the female bear egg will be inseminated but won't implant until like time to go into hibernation. Essentially, it'll kind of just like grow and it'll be like a bulk of cells, and it will only implant though if there's enough food source before going into hibernation. So if it's a lean year, the egg won't implant, which I thought was really interesting. But then like bears actually don't have a super long gestation period. It's only like 3 months from the time the egg implants, apparently. And I didn't realize baby bears are like the size of squirrels. Like they're very, very, very small when they're newborns, but then they get up to like 10 to 15 pounds by the time they're like coming out of hibernation, which I just like, I love. And there's this weird myth that goes around that like female bears give birth and don't wake up. And that's just like not true. Like they have footage of like female bears because like hibernation, I'm like, you have to remember hibernation's not a coma. Like they are still like moving around, adjusting, like they're sleeping, but like,
you know, you also kind of have to wonder what people think like a natural birth is like. Like, I mean, I've seen a goat give birth before. You can't just do it in your sleep.
Yeah, like, it's something, it's a process. So there was this bear that they watched, this like American black bear that they literally like, there was like film of it. Like she had fucking 20 hours of labor, gave birth. Like the bear would cry and she'd wake up and like clean her little bear cub and feed it, but they're still hibernating together. You know, like basically they're just like hanging out in a cave for the first few months of the baby's life, which sounds dope. Like seems like a good plan.
It does seem incredibly cozy.
Right. So cozy. But I do think it makes sense. So it's like this idea of like bears being associated with transformation, rebirth. Often it's like been likened to like shamanistic journeys, right? Like you go into this like darkness and come out with like new knowledge and information to share with the world. And we do know that like Christianity usurped a lot of deities. And some people think that like Saint Ursula, whose name is the Latinized version of the Saxon Ursel or she-bear, could be like one of the ways that like aspects of Ardeo, or at least like bear goddess worship, was transformed and adapted into Christianity, because like the feast of Saint Ursula is in October around like harvest time, right before bears would go into hibernation. So think about it. Think about it. So all that to say, Ardeo is a deity that has potentially been around in some form for thousands of years. Obviously, as we've discussed, I think Ardeo makes a lot of sense for like transformation magic, right? Like if you're the type of person who loves to astral project, wants to do some like deep meditative work, maybe even like around shadow work, I think working with either Ardeo or like a bear, like spirit, a bear totem energy of some sort, I think makes a lot of sense. Again, protection. We got to know like she bears, mama bear's going to kick smash for you. So, you know, maybe work with Ardeo for protective magic. And I do think that like offerings of whatever produce is in season are most appropriate. But if you want to do like, you know, maybe you want to honor the bear goddess you work with at a harvest festival, I think that that would be really appropriate. I think colors that you find in nature make sense, you know, like browns, greens, like pretty blacks, like basically what you would find in a forest. Of course, there are like white bears in the north, but I just like, those aren't the bears that I initially think of because they're not the bears close to where I am. So, you know, adjust as needed. But that's really like all I've got to say on that. Like Ardeo, there's not a whole lot about her, but like bears are fucking dope.
Bears are really cool. And yeah, I do think it's interesting that, again, it's like the whole entire Northern Hemisphere has some kind of bear spirit in their traditional pantheons. I also think it's interesting. They do almost the exact same thing in Japan and Siberia. as they do in Finland. So, I mean, we're obviously talking about something that really predates anything we would think of as like modern cultures. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I think that bears are also like ridiculously cute. Like and I know they're dangerous, but they are super cute to watch. Like when my mom was living in New Mexico, when she was like really far up there close to the border of Colorado, and we went and stayed with her, we definitely watched a bear like climb up in one of her fruit trees and like eat fruit, and it was so cute.
Like, I mean, yeah, it's like, well, and then there's that meme that's basically like, okay, but like, would you like imagine a dog that's like 600 pounds? Oh shit, you just invented a bear. Like, it's really...
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I think bears are super cute. I'm not going to try to pet it because I'm not a fucking moron, but I will appreciate it from afar.
From afar. Although I do want to pet one. I won't.
I would love to. If there was an option, a safe option, 100% sign me up all day, every day. But I do like having my limbs attached to my body.
Right. I mean, you know, if a bear came up to me in the wild and made some kind of clear sign that it wanted me to pet it, I would.
Absolutely.
But that's all I've got to say about that. Okay, so Taroscope, you guys. It's for Virgo, which I have the cards. I can just do a little Virgo with a little flower in her hair. I do think that's very like, that's cute. That's earthy babe vibes.
It's very Vestal Virgin of the card.
And hello, it's the Emperor reversed, which I'm kind of taking it as a sign to basically like, don't chill the fuck out, you know, like that. At least like that's my interpretation of like sort of where this could go. So basically it's like, yeah, like gaslight, gatekeep, micromanage the fuck out of your life, because sometimes you're right, you know, sometimes you're right to do that.
I mean, usually.
And I'm sure, you know, like soothing words to any Virgo's ears.
Like, I am right. You're correct. Thank you for saying it. Someone had to. That wasn't me for once.
Right. So, you know, this is your thumbs up to just to stay in the shit.
Oh, I love it.
Stay on top of everyone else's business, because that's your job.
Because clearly they can't.
Because clearly they cannot. But no, kind of love that for you. That's certainly not my vibe this week. I actually feel like I'm gonna float away into outer space at any moment. So,
oh, I mean, I definitely got like a cannabis additive for beverages that was way more strong than I thought it was. So I too might float away, but I'll do it while building things in Tears of the Kingdom. So at least there's that.
Love that. You know, putting your disassociation to good work.
Really, it's the only way to go.
Well, you know, what do we say to all the mama bears out there?
Oh, to all you mama bears, if you're a woman wearing mama bear skin or a mama bear wearing human skin, blessed be, bitches.
Blessed be, bitches.
Goodbye.